And showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. A look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network and one of your hosts on this program. With me, as always, is my co-host Eric Simpson, who is Senior Vice President and CIO of SPC International, a business improvement and training organization for MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic, Rich. I think it's my last week before the inevitable winter travels begin for me. I always say I'm going to try not to travel during fourth quarter, but they always get me. How about you? I see that you're in an unfamiliar locale today.
I am in a hotel room in Santa Clara, California, a very yellow hotel room in Santa Clara. Actually, I was attending a Microsoft IoT event here yesterday.
Very good. Yeah, IoT, man, up and coming, right?
Absolutely, huge market. Yeah, and it was an interesting event, and they drew a good crowd, and you could just kind of feel the hunger and the interest from people there. You know, how do I get in on this? So, yeah, interesting stuff for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to us covering more IoT events in the future.
And there will be more to cover.
Yeah.
But let's plunge into the story of this week. And as we were discussing off the air just a few moments ago, it was kind of a no-brainer what we were going to talk about on this episode. And that is the surprising word that Austin McChord, the founder and up until very recently CEO of Datto, is stepping out of that role. He's going to remain on the board of directors, but he will no longer be the CEO of the company. Tim Weller, who has been president and COO of Datto for a while, is the interim CEO. There's an executive search underway for a permanent CEO who will be appointed at some point in the future. But as folks know, Datto was founded by Austin McChord in 2007 when he was still an undergraduate at the Rochester Institute of Technology. He didn't graduate from RIT until 2009. In 2017, he sold the business to Vista Equity Partners, a private investment firm, which merged it with another one of its holdings, Autotask, and created the giant business that's out there today that spans from BDR, what Datto did originally, to RMM and PSA, which is what Autotask is best known for, to networking hardware, managed power outlets. They're one of the giant companies in the industry right now. And, you know, a year ago at this time when that transaction happened, the expectation very much was that Austin McChord was settling in to guide this much bigger expanded business into the future. And it looks like a year later, Austin, who is still a young man, decided he spent the last 11 years of his life 100% invested in Datto. And now maybe he wants to take a step back, reevaluate priorities, think a little bit about achieving some more work-life balance and decide what comes next. So very surprising news. It has a lot of Datto partners, I would say, apprehensive because McChord has been such an instrumental person in the creation and the growth of that company and its technology strategy. One of the partners I spoke with said, you know, this is a lot like Steve Jobs stepping away from Apple. You just wonder if it's going to be the same company going forward. So a lot of nervousness out there in the channel, but also, you know, kind of understandable how somebody like Austin, who now has a lot of money and the freedom to do whatever he wants, might decide to try something else.
Right. And I mean, really, what a more perfect example of the entrepreneurial success story, right? Kind of starting off, you know, in his basement or in his house and building this to the point where, you know, it gets acquired for, you know, an amazing acquisition valuation. And, but, you know, Rich, it's like many of us, you know, I believe Austin experienced kind of a life-changing event a little while ago. He lost someone that was very near and dear to him. And as you know, when, you know, those are the types of events that cause us to reevaluate, you know, ourselves and our lives. You know, I had that happen to me. You know, a few years ago, I lost a friend who was a lot younger than I am, and I was at that time, and just a freak, you know, medical issue that was a congenital thing, and basically he was here today and gone tomorrow, and it did cause me to reevaluate. You know, what am I doing? made me rethink, my life and what is really near and dear to me. So I know that had a lot to do with Austin's decision. And it's not like he's, popping smoke and disappearing, right? He's on the board. He's still going to be a guiding influence and have a hand in critical decisions and things like that, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, he's on the board, and he's still an enormous shareholder of the company. He's going to be very invested for that reason, and just personally in the continued success of Datto. So yeah, he's not disappearing. He's just stepping away from that day-to-day management role that's so consuming.
Right.
Well, let's dive into your tip of the week, which has to do with sales presentations and what you can do to be more successful with them.
Right. So I had the occasion this week to do a webinar, and for one of my vendor clients, and it was focused very specifically on one of the critical steps in the 7-step sales process, which is the presentation phase. And I work with a lot of partners out there, and I see how they do their sales presentation, and some, do a fantastic job. I mean, it's just right on the money. It evokes interest and curiosity. It raises buying temperature. It recalls pain and need from earlier conversations, and really builds value and expectation to move the sale forward. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, I see, one-page quotes, for tens of thousands of dollar projects and things like that. So my philosophy is when you're presenting a sales presentation to a client, whether it's one individual or a group of individuals, I always want to start off with, of course, we've built our proposal, and it's not a one-page quote. It is a multi-page document that builds value, that understands the situation. It reflects the pain and the needs. Now, it is not a tool to discuss the sale with the client. When we get to that point, we have reached conceptual agreement with the client in the earlier phases of the sales process. So when we're doing qualifying in the first appointment, or maybe subsequent phone calls and things like that, we are getting the client to conceptually agree that they have a pain and a need, and they're willing to invest some budget to address that pain and need, right? So not without going, into detail on all that, let's just say that we have an expectation of a budget amount or a range of budget amount. We built this proposal to highlight all of that pain and how we're going to address it. We're going to use 3 options in the proposal. We've talked about this on a previous 5-minute roundup, my proposal development strategy. And then that is just one component of the sales presentation. I also want to create an ROI/VOI analysis document. ROI being the monetary gain or the monetary benefit that a client may receive from your services, i.e. cost savings, work at collapsing things and reducing operating costs and things like that. But also VOI, which is value on investment. Now, value on investment doesn't typically bring a monetary return. These are the intangible benefits that the client sometimes values higher than a monetary return in an ROI analysis, such as peace of mind, selling security. Wow, I'm exposed. I can now sleep better at night. I know that my staff is getting trained and aware of what phishing emails look like, and business email compromise issues look like, and things like that. And I'm safe and secure in the thought that I've done everything I can to protect my business data and my customers' business data. So there's a lot of value there, value on investment. When we are able to combine the ROI and the VOI, 1 + 1 = 4 or 5 sometimes, based upon the client's prior experience. If they've been hacked before, if they've had a business interruption, they don't want to experience that again, whatever the situation is. The third component really is the PowerPoint presentation. And some people think, wow, Eric, PowerPoint, really? Am I going to lug a projector and a screen into somebody's office? No. Okay. Number one, if your client doesn't have a flat panel and stuff that you've installed, get on that. Okay. First, if you want to have a meeting with more than one individual, you're going to connect to the flat panel, and you're going to do no more than 10 slides. And you're going to basically present the proposal in the slide presentation, so that once you get to the proposal signing phase, it's simply authorizing the agreement. Now, if you have one person in the room, we're not going to go into the boardroom and do a big presentation. Do it on your tablet. Why a PowerPoint presentation, Rich? Why? Because how many times have we all walked out of a sales presentation and on the way to the car go, oh, I forgot to mention this, right? It keeps us, and it builds the story. It's like having a movie with 3 acts. You're going to build buying temperature in the presentation. It's emotional. You've got images. You're going to bring back that pain and need that the client had. You're going to show them your options, right? Then you're going to transition into the proposal, and you're asking questions throughout the presentation. Does this make sense? Wouldn't you agree? It'd be great if we could take care of that for you. Right? These are the tie down questions. You want to make sure that you're asking and getting approval as you move through that, because if you're not, you can address that right there and clear it up before it becomes an objection in the next phase of the sales process, overcoming objections and closing, right? So, and if you're building a sales team, everyone is doing the presentation the same way, building the same value, and you have consistency now so that everyone is doing everything the same way. So number 1, the PowerPoint presentation. Number 2, the proposal with 3 options that's built as a consultative sales proposal. It is simply documenting the conceptual agreement that you've already arrived to with the client in the previous meetings. And then third, the ROI/BOI analysis. Those 3 items will help tremendously build value in your proposals, accelerate sales velocity, and shorten sales cycles.
And it's critical to spell that stuff out, even if you have discussed it with the client in those prior meetings. Mm-hmm. You know, if it feels like repetition, it's not. It really pays to bring back up what you agreed to earlier, spell it out for them again, remind them, take them through that story so that they really do understand why this is an investment worth making.
And especially if, you know, you've rescheduled that meeting 3 or 4 times and now it's a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks after those initial conversations, you've got to bring that emotion back up and that buying temperature and remind them of the pain and how great life will look after you complete this engagement and this project and things like that. And one really critical question that you must ask before you do your presentation, the most important question, Rich, has anything changed since we spoke last? Because sometimes that'll throw the whole presentation in the trash, right? Client says, oh, we had a failure on the HVAC system on the building and we had to invest $50,000. So now I have no budget. How did it happen? Okay. Am I going to present? No, I'm not going to present. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's talk about that, requalify, see if we can phase it in. Or the opposite has happened to me as well, Rich. Hey, you know what? Yes, we've decided to open another office 2 counties away. Can you help us with that? I sure can. And I'm not going to present what I was going to present because now I'm going to requalify you and then come back and present properly. So you know, remember that tip.
Well, fantastic stuff. Thank you, Eric. Now, once you have successfully closed that deal and pocketed some money, here we've got time for one more story. And here's something you could do with that hard-earned money. Maybe you could go out and buy yourself a ticket on a recreation of the worst naval disaster in history. Doesn't this sound like fun? It does to the folks at Blue Star Line, a shipping company. They're in the process of constructing, and I kid you not, Titanic 2, a replica of the ship that struck an iceberg and drowned, killing hundreds, whatever it was, thousands of people about 100 years ago now. And you, too, can recreate that voyage by simply buying yourself a ticket on Titanic 2. Sounds like a good vacation time to me.
I can just hear the commercials. Titanic 2, the other one.
We got it right this time. Yeah, we're going to steer about 50 feet to the left. It's going to work.
As long as they have Wi-Fi, it might interest a few people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if the Wi-Fi is free.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have for you this week on the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoyed the show, if you would like to see some of the past episodes, keep up to date with the ones that are coming along in the future, what you want to do is subscribe to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube, and we will keep you informed about all that. You want to read up on our coverage of Austin McChord leaving Datto and other news coverage and all sorts of great content about growing your business, go to channelpronetwork.com. We've got great new stuff for you up there every day. To learn about SPC International and the work that Eric and his team do with their clients, you want to go to consulting.spc-intl.com. That's consulting.spc-intl.com. We're going to be back with you next week with another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.